Thanks for tuning in again, everybody. We're back with your favorite podcast, Luka's Tigers and Bronze. Oh my.
Luka Nation. I hope you guys had an amazing start to your 2021 new year. I think, Cage, if I could wish something for our community, and I'll let you go hop in here for another episode of Luka's Tigers and Bronze. And today's one of your guys' favorite segments. It's the Coffee with Cage segment. We got a ton of good questions today, so I'm going to jump right in. But I think this year, especially these next, 180 days, are going to be filled with distractions. There's going to be filled with noise. There's going to be a lot of media information out there. You're not going to know what to believe and what to think. If I could wish one thing, set some intentions, set some goals, and just stay focused. And I think you'll have a really successful 2021. And I couldn't be more positive and optimistic about the hobby. Cage, if you give us a few comments as I'm pulling up questions here, and then we'll jump in.
Yours is stay focused, set some goals. Who's one of the greatest rappers of all time? Is his name Kendrick Lamar? Is that a rapper? Did he say? Didn't he? His rap didn't say stay focused. No, it was stay humble, right? Wasn't it stay humble, right? At least I think. I mean, this is not exactly my area of expertise, but that is what I would hope for you guys, right? That's me. Stay humble. And I'm going to apply this across multiple lines of our investing world, our hobby, you name it, right? Take credit for your small wins. Pat yourself on the back every now and again, right? You have a small victory, give yourself some credit for it, right? But stay humble. And also stay humble in your expectations. Rein them in. I saw somebody post something the other day that was like, if you don't think that your card collecting goals and your card collecting purchases are going to 3x this year, then go put your money in Bitcoin. Okay, let's dissect that for a second, okay?
Our
Warren Buffett
specifically asked for no more Bitcoin conversations. They agree with the old...
Well, forget about the Bitcoin for a second. But Warren Buffett, widely considered one of the greatest investors of all time, 20% a year, and he's a genius, beats the market every year, which means he's what? He's 2xing every 4 years or so with compound interest of those 20%, right? So he's not 4x in 1 year. He's 2xing in 4 years, right? And he's considered one of the greatest investing minds that has ever graced the street, the oracle of Omaha. So I guess what I'd like our folks to learn for 2021 is just because you 10x'd on a card in the last year and a half or 18 months, don't expect that. Be thrilled, look for it, do your work, and try to find those things that are out there because, yes, there's a card sitting on eBay right now that will 10x this year. I don't know what it is. Somebody will do the research and figure it out. Some underappreciated asset, some Dragon Ball Z craziness that Bro Namath could have told us about if we didn't go down a Bitcoin rabbit hole. But the point is, there's nothing wrong with taking your profits, taking your wins, and being reasonable about your wins. You have a card that you bought for $100, it goes up to $150, and you think you can make more with that $150 on something else, sell it. A 50% profit on a card is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Think if you were buying a stock and it went up 50%, don't you think you'd sell it? Same thing applies, right? Take your money, take your wins, roll them into more wins. Find the next thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great strategy, and it goes hand in hand with. I hope you've already had a chance to listen to our last couple episodes, but Ryan's episode of compounding your wins, right? It's great to have one big win that you hold over time, but it's even better to compound that 10% win every week for 52 weeks. So there's my little wish. Go ahead.
I think that's a huge point, and I want to ask you what you think, how you define good luck or good fortune, because I think it is a lot of good fortune to buy an asset or invest in an asset, and it goes up 3x in a month. So I don't I've been talking about Bitcoin since before the election, saying that, I think that with a little bit of the unsettling in the U.S. economy, Bitcoin's going to go up as an inflation hedge. But I don't take credit for that as a good investment. I think it's good fortune. And the way I define good fortune, you could jump in here, is when hard work meets opportunity, right? And the hard work is churning out those 20 to 25, 30% returns on the cards. That's the hard work. That's navigating eBay all day, looking for deals, having a pulse on the market, really doing your research. That's where the 20 to 30% returns come, and with grading cards and being patient. And then if you're able to do that and stay disciplined with your bankroll management, I got fortunate. I sold a lot of cards in October, so I had bankroll that I needed to what I call park in Bitcoin, and it just happened to appreciate 2 or 3x since then. But you're absolutely right. Those 10, 20, 30% returns that you can consistently churn out, that's the work.
Yep. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking your profit and going. Right? You're a star stock person. You buy something for $10. You don't have to sell it for 20. You can continue to buy those $10 cards and sell them for $13, $14, and you continuously do that, and you'll be doing fine over the long run. And there's something to be said for that.
Good fortune,
and really,
and then the good fortune of getting a 3x card or being able to buy a Jordan card that really appreciates way more than you think. Those will only come when you have the skill and the discipline to just consistently. Because churning out that what you just described on Star Stock, that's not luck. That's learning the platform, understanding how the market works, and spotting those trends. That's not luck,
right.
is it?
Well, listen, no. But you have to have good fortune, and I'm glad you said that. And it doesn't have to be the Jordan rookie card; it could be anything, right? So what you're looking for is something that provides you an opportunity to have that good fortune. I always believe you can kind of make your own good luck, right? So let me give a real world example to listeners who are listening to this show. We gave a play a couple of days ago of the kid Okoro from the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? And the research that went into that play, telling you to go buy the card for $1 on StarStock or eBay or wherever you're going to buy cards, was that he had been out for a little while. The team played better when he was on it. They won every game that he played, and when he wasn't in, they started losing, right? And that he's going to come back and play in the game after we gave that as a play. So people weren't looking at it. So you already had an advantage because you were buying something that nobody else was looking at, and he had a little track record of performing, right? So that is you using your brain, your research, your mind to set you up for good fortune. And then it so happens that in their last game, in the final 2 minutes, he has 2 blocks, a steal, and the game-winning basket. And all the cards that were $1 are now 4 or 5 or 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't control what happens on the court, right? But you can set yourself up for that double bang, right?
Mm-hmm.
His cards were already going up before he had that great performance.
Yep.
Because you did the due diligence and said, you know what, this guy's going to go out there. People are going to be looking for his cards. He's going to be in the starting lineup, and that's going to bring him from 1 to 2. But then if you're also right about the guy and he has a good game, which he did, it goes from 2 to 4 or 5 or 6. So you can kind of, you can kind of tip the scales of fortune in your favor if you do enough research.
I couldn't have put it better myself. We'll jump in here, guys. Quick shout out to our producer, Jordan. We're just 2 guys that jump on here and talk sports cards, alternate investments, what's going on in the hobby. But Jordan puts in a lot of work, a lot of time to put out that content, those videos, those graphics that you guys see. So when you guys engage, when you guys comment, when you guys share this story, it means the world to us. Shout out to Jordan, who's doing an amazing, amazing job. Amazing question here from our man, Yamwax. If you could have one sealed sports video game to display in your home office, what would it be?
Okay. So I'm going to say this, right? So I try to avoid the questions that we get, right? So Andrew asked the questions. So I try to not see these questions ahead of time. So I try to give you, like, when I'm answering these, it's the first time I'm hearing these questions for the most part, right? And so I don't want to give myself too much time to think. This one here would take 0 time because there's 2 games, 2 answers that probably are not the most valuable games in the world if you had them sealed, but they would be the ones that I framed in my home office or my man cave. And it's Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which I have and play with Ian. We have like a little Nintendo setup. We play with it, and it's like a ghetto version of it. So it's not like a real Nintendo. It's like one of these, like it plays the old games, but the
Does Ian
controller
kidney hit uppercut, the classic Mike Tyson?
He does. Well, he can get up to like Great Tiger now, but here's the thing. The controller is like delayed. It's like a half second slow, and in that game it's all about like being able to like, dodge and counterpunch. So I can't get past like Bald Bull. because you have to be quicker on it. I used to be able to beat Tyson with the real remote, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to figure that out. But I would have that one sealed and Tecmo Bowl, not Super Tecmo Bowl, Tecmo Bowl. So Tecmo Bowl was like, I can tell you, I wasted more hours as a kid on Tecmo Bowl than anything else in the world. That was it. That was like the game, especially if you were able to play the Raiders, which, at the time we were going to be good if Bo Jackson didn't get hurt. You had a backfield of Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen in the same backfield, and you could not tackle Bo Jackson. We used to get it to a point where if you had enough kids come over and play like a Tecmo Bowl tournament, you had a rule of you can't use the Raiders because it was just unfair. You couldn't use the Raiders because Bo Jackson just won every time. So that's a great question. Those are my two video games. And Yam, you're a smart guy polling the audience like this. Maybe get some comments, guys, because what Yam's doing is he is doing his research. He's setting himself up for good fortune down the road because the sealed video game is an area of our hobby. It's an area of nostalgia. It's an area of collectibles that people have not really dove headfirst in yet. They haven't really gone heavy on it. And Yam wants to be ahead of that curve because that is definitely something that is going to take off. It already started to. The things, the high-end stuff and, the Zelda games that are sealed and graded, they're a lot of money. So Yam doing is trying to figure out what's their demand for and ultimately buy them now before people start looking for them. So it's a small question.
Gary B in his Hudson Yards office, they named their rooms, their conference rooms, really interesting. One of the rooms is named Mike Tyson Punch Out.
Nice.
Beautiful room, my favorite room. Overlooks the sunset too. It's super cool.
Did you ever play Mike Tyson Punch Out as a kid, Andrew, or no?
No, my mom didn't let me have video games.
Oh, you poor child. Okay, next.
Well, I played real sports. Does that count?
No, I was going to ask you who was the opponent in that game that gave you the most trouble. So you playing real sports doesn't really help. You can't say Soda Popinski or Mr. Sandman or.
No, Lewis. Fun fact. I don't know if he's in the game, but we own a family business. The guy that's worked with us for 20 years was a middle welterweight, something like that, fighter. He used to spar with Bernard Hopkins, Bobby Jenkins. Worked with us. He's like my uncle, but he was 8-0 in professional fights.
Golden Gloves. For the Golden Gloves.
He was Bernard Hopkins' spar partner as well. Now moving on, and this is interesting. So we have Yanmax, and then we have a question from Cardporn. And the detective hat on me. I'm starting to wonder who is this Cardporn? Who is behind the account?
Maybe we'll have to have him on. Figure it out.
Maybe, but I don't think he's going to present or shoot. Let's see. He asked the question. He or she tagged you, Cage Lawyer, first and said, what price do you think will be the new high water mark for the Jordan rookie card? It's literally doubled in the last 2 months, and poorly sent copies are now getting over 200K. Is it the sports card equivalent of a shiny new Lamborghini that you buy to impress your mates and try to pick up chicks with?
Nice. Well, let me tell you, if I had one of those, I would definitely try to pick up chicks with it. So, nothing picks up chicks like sports cards. Isn't that the case, guys? Hey, Luka Nation. Isn't that why we're all doing this? But no, I mean, it's a great question, but here's the flaw.
The PSA pen around everywhere I go, and I just...
Here's the flaw in the question. It hasn't doubled in the last 2 months. There have been plenty of cards that have doubled in the last 2 months, but this one really hasn't. Although I did see somebody on Twitter a couple months ago, Mr. Mint, who's got an awesome collection, was trying to sell one of these for 105, and darn, I wish I had 105 dollars, let alone 105,000. But if you remember before the documentary that came out in what was April, May, the Last Dance, one of these sold. I think it was a golden auction. One of them sold for like $116,000, and then there was a PWCC that sold for like 120. It was one of their like higher grade PWCC A or E ones. So it was a 6-figure card early last year. And while the last couple of auctions have sold 208 on PWCC and about I think it was either 218 or 222. Ken Golden's always got funny math. He always makes the record price a little more than it's supposed to be. I mean, I added 20% to 181 and got like 208. Or excuse me, 218. He somehow said it was a $220,000 card. I don't know, maybe a credit card charge on top of it. I don't know what he's adding in. The Ken Golden bonus record price add-on or something. But the point being, it's two and change now, so it's double what it was. But it's double what it was at the beginning of last year too. So to the question in and of itself, yes, I think that is a flex card. I think it's a great question because it allows me to I hope instill some confidence in the thousands of people who are going to listen to this episode. And what I mean by that is you're here because, well, you're here because you just love the sound of my voice. But besides that, you're here because you like the hobby, you like the collectibles, you're looking to make some money in it. And what you want to hear more than anything is that this is not a bubble that's going to burst. And I love that Jordan card because it is not a card that there's two of. It's a card that I think at last check there were 318 of in PSA 10. So that's not a minuscule population. But what it shows you is that there are enough people out there with the pockets who care enough about our cardboard, who care enough about this form of art that we're all invested in to spend two, three, four, however many hundreds of thousands of dollars on a card like this. Jordan brand is iconic. The Jordan name is iconic. He's the GOAT. So what it shows me is that over the last year, the amount that people are willing to spend for those iconic pieces has gone up. And I don't see a reason for that to change, especially when you factor in my rising tide lifts all ships type of thing, right? And you see bounties placed of $500,000 for the Zion Logo Man National Treasures when that product comes out. And you see this morning, the Panini Eminence boxes sell out in a matter of seconds at $27,500. What it tells you is that the demand is there and the demand continues to grow, especially for basketball, it seems. And not only is the demand there, but the demand's there at all price levels. And if it's there at that high level, that's going to trickle down and I think bring everything up. And you've already seen this, guys. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but if you were in this a couple years ago, the thought of spending $100 or $200 for a Jason Tatum rookie was absurd. You're like, no way, how's that worth it? But now, when I sold the Keldon Johnson silver yesterday, off-centered, raw for $150. If someone's paying, yeah, seriously. So if someone is paying that kind of money for these cards now, then obviously Tatum becomes a bargain, and people start looking at these other cards. So I think what we're seeing is just continuously resetting what these things are worth. It just shows an overall health of the hobby. That's all. I mean,
my conservative prediction is that's a $500,000 card in less than 5 years. I'm going to venture to say it's $1 million card.
In less than 5 years, $1 million, I think is probably right. I think 500 is probably sooner than that. Just because I'll stick with the Jordan card because that's what Card Porn asked about, and I think he's holding that card in his picture, right? So normally when you reach highs like this, what winds up happening, and it happened the last time around after the golden auction, you see that peak and then you see it start to come down a little bit. And it happened, it was $20,000, $25,000 for the longest time, then went up to 50, went up to 55, and then came down. And then you could buy them in the 30s and 40s, and then it went back up, went up to 60, 70, 80. Then it hit that 100, 125, and it came down, and you were able to buy them in the 80s, right? Then all of a sudden you saw sales for 140, 150, 160. Mr. Mint had his for 100. Now it's all the way back up to over 2, and multiple sales at over 200,000. Normally, what you see is eBay, a bunch of them materialize, and after the first one sold for over 200,000, I did see 3 of them hit eBay, but one's like $500,000, and the cheapest one is like $349 or $399 or best offer. So there's not this glut. Now I'll keep my eye out to see if the next couple of PWCC auctions have more Jordans in them and people trying to sell them. If not, you're going to see this thing continue to shoot up. It may, if more of them materializes, that supply shows up, and people who bought in at 80 or 100 are willing to go out at 200 now, you might see a slight dip. But this is a card that there's no reason for it to go down.
A big deal, so if you guys follow Conrad Sports Cards, he asked the question, so I'm going to feature him here. But he did a great graph on similar price movement of the LeBron Topps Chrome, right? How it has an uptick, hits a high, drops off because you see a lot of supply hit the market. Then when the supply dries up, has another uptick, hits a high, supply hits the market again at that new price. So go check out his story post. It was really, really sharp. But something's to be said about having one Jordan rookie card as well, right? So you have the 1985 Nike promo, but Jordan only has one rookie. Yep. You want to touch on that quickly, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a star of him, but there's not anywhere near the demand for that card. So yeah. And I mean, it's a great little piece, great little segue for us. I have started to buy rookie cards of GOATs who only have one rookie, because the demand is not spread out among many cards. And one of our members was talking to us about, whether or not Ali or Pele was the way to go. I think we had it maybe in our last coffee with Cage. People are still talking about it now. And one of the reasons why I haven't really dove in on either of those guys, I actually sold the Pele rookie I had, is because I don't know which one to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge thing, right? Because it's funny. I'll give a great real life example. I love Shaquille O'Neal. I love him. And I went all in on one of his cards that I think is humongously underpriced. The 1992 Upper Deck card, number 1, black one, with the 3 pictures of him dunking the ball. I think that is his true rookie card. Upper Deck, number 1, you name it. But if you were to ask other people, other influencers, Gary Vee perhaps, he likes the Beam Team version of Shaq's card better, right? It's not that he doesn't like Shaq. It's that he likes the Beam Team version. I don't think that's a rookie card. It's from his rookie year, but it's an insert. So to me, it doesn't qualify as a rookie. Some people like the Tops. Some people like the Tops gold. Some people like the Skybox where he's dunking. Some people like the Fleer. It's a throwback, and it's Fleer, and it's Jordan has a Fleer, so I might as well buy the Shaquille O'Neal Fleer. And you know what winds up happening there? Let's just use the Upper Deck and the Beam Team, right? The Stadium Club. What winds up happening there is, while the Upper Deck card is rare, and there's only 300 or so of those cards, when you compare, it's almost the same population as the Jordan, right? When you compare that and you say, wow, if Jordan's $200,000, how the hell is Shaq only 3,000, right? With the same kind of pop. But it's not that it's only 3,000. It's 3,000 of those. And if you don't want to buy that, you can buy the Beam Team. If you don't want to buy that, you can buy a Stadium Club. If you don't want to buy that, you can buy a Fleer Ultra. If you don't want to buy that, Fleer, it's Hoops, it's Skybox. It's a million different cards of him out there with inserts and variants. And all of a sudden now the Shaq rookie population, while the one card I picked only has 300 and something in PSA 10, the overall population of his rookie year rookie cards is significant. And that, I believe, is more important. It's more important than, quote, market cap. You have to do a market cap expansion, because it's not just the market cap of that Upper Deck card, it's a market cap of Shaq's rookies and how that money can be spread around, because the demand's not always going to be for the one card that I happen to pick. That's why I like the Montana card. I like the Jerry Rice card,
That's why, and I'm not a LeBron guy, but just if you look at it from today's standpoint, that's why he has to be one of the best investments long-term if you're buying a rookie card, because he has one rookie card. That's the biggest thing with Kobe, right? Kobe has a few different rookie cards. He has the Topps Chrome, he has the Fleer, he has the Topps Finest, he has the Golden Air. You're absolutely right.
Well, LeBron has a lot of cards also, and Kobe does too. But for those guys, for whatever reason, their cards have really stood out. That's the thing. Like those Kobe Chrome, the Kobe Topps 50th, the NBA 50th. I love that card. And I'll come back to that for a second, just to compare that one. But you're right. I mean, like what's happened there hasn't happened yet in Clay, Ali / Pele. There hasn't been a head and shoulders like this is the card. If that happens, then boom, you're set. You know what I mean? Like Jackie Robinson has Leaf cards and Bowman cards. He's got a 48 Leaf. He's also got other variant cards. People don't know. There's a really cool Bond bread set in 1947, which actually predates the 48 Leaf.
We're not talking about food.
Yeah, well, I'm hungry. So Bond bread, but there's some cool ones with portrait one, they're white border, some of them sliding. There's like a whole bunch of variants. You could consider that a rookie. It wasn't in a pack or anything like that, but the population has spoken. The 48 Leaf is the card that people want for Jackie. The Chrome is the one people want for both Kobe and LeBron. A sneaky play for Kobe. These happen every now and again when Topps does this stuff. So if you're a Mike Trout collector, you know that the update's his card. I happen to like the gold. Some people like the Target red and the Walmart blue. But that year was the diamond anniversary, right? It was 2011 was the diamond anniversary of baseball, and they put the diamond set. So you got the Trout Cognac diamond, Trout diamond anniversary. That diamond anniversary, even though it's not numbered and there are a ton of them, it sells for very close to what the gold card sells for. And that gold card is like numbered to 2011. And I think last check there's 50 PSA 10s in gold. But it doesn't sell for that much more of a premium than that diamond card because that diamond card is cool looking. And it celebrates an anniversary of baseball, the whole 9 yards, right? And it's just a one-off card. Kobe has that in 1996. He's got the one of my co-host's favorite card. You've mentioned it a bunch of times. It's the 50 NBA and 50th. So it's the 50th anniversary of the NBA from 1996. It's and it's a card that it's almost confused with the chrome. It's got this like really cool chrome silver border. It was like a Topps insert. And they were pack pulled. I think they were they were like 1 in 4 packs or something like that. So they were rarer. And the last I checked, the pop on those is pretty similar to the pop of the refractor on chrome. There's like 68 or 63, one or the other. And the refractor chrome for Kobe and PSA 10 is like a 6-figure card. But this card can be had probably for less than the chrome base. So there's a little market.
I've graded 10 of these, haven't got a single PSA 10. It's the hardest card I've ever seen to grade. It's almost nearly impossible on BGS because the edges, the foil, surface, it's so condition sensitive. And what's funny about that card is there's 2 different names to it too. So this is like a fun way if you are ever looking for that card to get a deal. Some people call it the Topps 50th foil. Some people call it the Topps NBA at 50.
Right.
And that it's interesting, right? Because you'll look at a BGS slab, it'll say NBA at 50. You'll look at a PSA slab, it'll say 50. Let's keep moving on that same note. T. Roy's collection, Cage mentioned graded LeBron base cards from just about any year, seem to have a market. And I think card collector Ryan also mentioned this as well. Are there any other GOATs that fit into the same category? Jordan, Kobe, Trout. And I think
definitely
that's kind of the new modern GOATs, like when you pull a Kobe from 2019 this year or something similar.
So he's not talking about rookies that are not the Topps chrome rookie?
Of any year. Cage mentioned that graded LeBron base cards from any year seem to have a market. Okay. And Ryan said that on the last episode.
Yep.
Or he brought up the LeBron mosaic as an example. You could buy that for $4 or $5 on eBay. It's a $70 card in PSA 10. Are there any other GOATs that fit in that same category? Jordan, Kobe. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, Kobe. I mean, Kobe cards. You're grading Kobe cards. I mean, I looked the other day at a 2019 Prism red, white, and blue that we just happened to have in one of our boxes of cards, and I look at that, and I'm pretty sure PSA 10 that's a $100 card, if not more. So yeah, Kobe has the same kind of treatment as LeBron does, and I'd go as far as to say, I mean, clearly Jordan doesn't have too many cards out now, but the same type of thing applies.
Jordan Panini's not allowed to put Jordan cards.
Right. So, but all of Jordan's cards from the 90s, if you have them and they're gradable, definitely grade anything. I mean, you see huge, 90s insert sets for Jordan. I'm trying to think if I had it for other sports. Right now, even though Mahomes is not a quote GOAT, I would tell you that almost any Mahomes card that comes out of a decent product is something that's gradable. I saw a whole write-up on the second year Mahomes Prism, the 2018 Mahomes Prism base selling, and that's a cool card. I would even grade this year's cards. I mean, you're talking about something where I wouldn't be spending a lot of money to grade them. But yeah, I mean, first, second, third year Mahomes cards, they're definitely gradable. Baseball, I don't know if I'd grade base Trouts, but listen, I got a pink Topps Chrome Mike Trout out of a pack. And it's just the pink ones. They come in what were they, mega boxes or whatever the heck we were pulling those out of, Target boxes. And I graded it. It was last year. I paid like $9 in a bulk sub. It came back a 9. We sold it and it sold for like $50 in a 9. So yeah, I mean, somebody like that who's the GOAT, you got Trout refractors that come out of packs, Trout cards that come out of packs. I mean, a base paper Topps card, it might not do it, but there are some guys where you can pull their cards, and as long as you're willing to wait for it and grade it at the lowest level, sure, there's definitely money to be made there. I mean, I wouldn't put many people in the LeBron category. I mean, almost any card that comes out of a pack now with LeBron on it is gradable, and you will make money on it if you grade it and it grades well. Part of the bonus there is, and this is funny because normally I don't like this, but that LeBron has changed teams a couple of times. So over the last couple of years, you got Lakers jersey LeBron, and now we won a title with them. So people want Lakers jersey cards. Normally, you don't want somebody's 20th year card, but if his 20th year card happens to be, or his 18th year card happens to be, his first in a Laker jersey, all of a sudden you have some excitement because of it, So get that little bonus added in.
Wait, take a look at two things. So one, Mike Trout Panini cards are an interesting play because you could have those. So Panini is a non-licensed MLB product, but you'll see if you go on eBay 130 point, 2012 Mike Trout sells for pretty good money. This actually might be a play here. I'm seeing some sales for 450, but I'm seeing some sales in the past for upwards of 600-700 on the 2012 Mike Trout card, which is a non-licensed, non-rookie year card, right? Or is 12?
You talk about the Prism base card?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I even gave that as a play.
Yep.
I mean, I was buying it. I was buying that card. I don't know if you could buy it anymore base. But I was buying a card for $40-$50 base. I'll give you a play in that year if you want. I'll give you a play right now, even though it's called the cage. I'll give you
cage episode.
But I'll give a play anyway because it's right in that wheelhouse. So I don't know if anybody bought Francisco Lindor cards, but if you didn't, and now that he's with the Mets, his cards have all gone up. And it's one of those things, right, where somebody signs with a team, somebody signs with a new team, their cards go up because now you got a whole new fan base interested. Andrew, I want you to do me a favor, okay, because you're ready on 2012 Prism. Type in 2012 Prism, and now type in Bauer, Trevor Bauer. And you're going to find that's his rookie card. And it says rookie right on it, just like the Bryce Harper rookie card of that year. But what you're going to find of the current Cy Young is that there are cards available for $3.
Mm-hmm.
His rookie Prism 2012, which, if you check the gem rate on these things, guys, they grade really well. I know there's some surface area, some scratches, and the whole deal, but there's a nice couple dollar play for you. Get on eBay, go on, wherever you find cards, but eBay has them, and you can buy right now a Trevor Bauer 2012, the first year of Prism rookie card. And it actually says rookie right across the bottom. Cool card, cool looking card. And you buy it for a couple bucks. There's plenty of them available for under $10. A lot available for under $5. And you know what? If you $3.99. I'm looking at one right now, right? If you
$3.99.
You'll get this card next week, and the week after he's gonna sign a big contract with some team, and his card's gonna quadruple. You know that you get $15-$20 for this card when rookie card when he signs with a new team, just like Lindor did or whatever. So to me, it's just a no-brainer. I was looking at that with Lindor, and I'm like, wow, look what happens. And it happens every time, and everybody says the same thing. I really wish I would have bought some Lindor cards. Well, here's your chance. Bauer's the next name to drop. I know he's a pitcher, but it's not a huge investment, right? You're getting a Cy Young winner, 2012 Prism, big name who's going to go on a team and pitch well. He's got a cool, online presence. His Twitter page is a must follow if you're not following it now. And there's a couple dollar play for you. Sorry, I know it wasn't Coffee with Cage question, but might as well drop some knowledge, right?
I was giving you the finger guns because the next question I'm going to ask is from Level Up Cards. He said, are there any baseball players other than the usual big three, Tatis, Soto, Acuna? It's interesting that those are the big three now in people's minds. I know you mentioned Glaber as a play the other day, but he's like 3A, LOL. Interested to hear your under-the-radar guys. It's funny that those are the big three when Mookie, Christian, Yelich have had way more success, right?
So it's funny, you just nailed a couple of my things, right? So with baseball now, with the run-up, I wouldn't be buying any of these big guys because every one of the guys who's going to have demand has run. Instead, what I'd be doing is a little bit of research on two guys. Number one is Yelich, 100%, because he just had a really off year last year. And, his cards haven't started to run yet. But when Tatis's gold is $2,000 and you could probably buy 4 or 5 of Yelich's gold for the same price, to me, that's a problem. That's a market inefficiency there. That's an area where Yelich already won an MVP, and prior to this last year, which I'm going to give him a pass because this was just a crazy COVID year. Prior to this past year, people were talking about him as the second best player in baseball. It was him and Betts compared to Trout. And yeah, he had a bad year this past year, but so did so many people. So I'm going to give him a pass on a half a year during COVID craziness and bet that he comes back next year. And that's an area to look at. Another guy who just is overlooked in that huge, team out there, Bellinger's cards. And I gave him as a play early on in our podcast as well, by the gold, by his update. They've doubled since, he went on a run and, he played well and they won up winning the World Series. but he's one that has not caught fire yet. They started to go back up, but they haven't caught the same kind of fire as the big three names. So those are two that I like. A longer term play, guys. I'm gonna give you one that I would love to have bought more of before giving this play because you guys are gonna go buy them up now. It's tough. So I would use some restraint on this one now, but I think ultimately it's the long term play that pays off and pays off well. Right now, I don't see a spot for Gavin Lux in the Dodgers lineup. They've given him a couple of opportunities now to grab hold of a middle infielder role, the same way they did with Corey Seager. Seager obviously did what he did and came up and won the MVP of the World Series, right? And Lux has kind of looked overmatched both times. The thing is, when he goes down to AAA, he looks like he's too good for that. But when he comes up, he doesn't really seize the opportunity. I don't know what the story is there. I still think he's going to be great. But right now, there's not room for him in a lineup that already just won the World Series basically without him. But here's the fun. That was a guy who, going into last year, was the head and shoulders favorite to win the National League Rookie of the Year, right? I mean, this is a guy who, by all accounts, is a huge prospect, is a stud, is somebody who you're going to be able to, count on as a middle infielder on a World Series contender for the next decade. Maybe that happens this year. Maybe it happens because of injury and he actually sticks this year. But here's what's fun about it. Right now, the Tatis card is trending towards $300. I saw them selling it like $280 today. Oh, there's some at $259, $260, sure, but those are going to get eaten up, and that's going to be a $300 card. Do you know how much the Gavin Lux PSA 10 card goes for, Andrew? You're on mute.
I'm assuming 35 to 50.
Exactly. You can buy them in bulk between $30 and $35. Auctions are selling for less than $35. So basically 1/9, 1/10, 1/8, I mean, however you want to do the math on it, of Tatis. Now, he's not in the same ballpark. He hasn't done what Tatis did. Tatis had a near MVP year last year, and Gavin Lux was in the minors. But it's a card that if you stash at $30 and he gets a shot this year and actually does what most people think he's going to do, that card goes from 35 to 100 during this season. So it's just one to play. It's more of a gamble now than it's ever been, only because there's a log jam there in the middle infield. And there's not exactly a spot for him presently. But we all know in sports that changes. And, this is a guy who I just think has all the tools to play. Yordan Alvarez is another one on baseball, guys. This is a guy who was injured a little bit, but he can come up and hit, 50 home runs in a full season without a problem. Vlad Guerrero, we talked about him as well. Hopefully he gets some run at third base instead of just first base if he loses weight and stays in shape. Remember, he was supposed to be better than Tatis. Those were the 1 and 2 prospects. Vlad was supposed to be, the 1 and Tatis 2. There's enough baseball for you. What's next?
What Matt Van asks, Matt Van 45, what are your best tips for packaging cards to send into StarStock? I know they have an FAQ form, but I would like a little more insights into how to properly send them in.
Right. So, it's a great question because they just want them in penny sleeves. So they just want them in pennies. They don't want top loaders. They don't want anything like that. So what I do is I grab team bags. I put my stuff in pennies and I grab team bags and I put the same kind of card, whether it's like 10 of the same guy or 20 of the same style of card, whether it's 2020 Prism, whatever it is. And I tightly pack them in a team bag. And then I put the team bags in a cardboard box, like not a shoebox style, but like complete set baseball box, a 600 count, 800 count. And I pack them in so that they're tight. If there's room, if I don't have enough cards to fill a box, I am making sure that those cards are not moving. And that's with packing peanuts or bubble wrap or whatever it is on the edges, on the sides of the box. This way, I will never send the box like that where the cards themselves are touching the edges of the cardboard. Always going to have some bubble wrap, some give, something on the edges of the cards. So I don't want my last card in the box, my first card in the box to show up there and automatically be B or C because of a ding corner. Also, if you're somebody who gets PSA returns back, a nice little tip is inside the PSA boxes, there's this like little white, material that they do this with. There's a little bit of give in the boxes. It's like foamy. Yeah, it's like packing material. What I do is I take that and I cut it and I layer it over the cards and under the cards for when I send them in, so that you're actually providing sort of like a cushion for these cards. I mean, you want to give these cards the best shot to get to where they're going without them being damaged. And just a little thing like that with material you have around the house, anything that puts a border between the corners and the edges of the cards and banging them in. And then once they're in that box and they're not moving, and if you're going to put it in a priority mailbox or wherever you can put it in, make sure that the thing is not moving around in there either. You know what I mean? Make sure it's snug in there. Pack it with packing peanuts. I put empty boxes in. Go to the post office and put it in a flat rate box. Grab a couple of extra flat rate boxes, put them together, and put them in the box, smaller ones.
You heard it here
This way,
first.
your box.
You heard it here first. A little cushion for the pushing. Cage's life philosophy, apparently.
It is true. That's why you love me.
Well, that's why it makes it so easy to love you too. You know what I mean?
Hey.
With everyone sending in cards to Star Stock, supply is bound to shoot up. Can we expect stricter grading on Star Stock considering our A's?
So I don't know whether I would expect supply to shoot up. I mean, it depends on what kind of cards you're sending in. I'm sure there's going to be more supply in 2020 draft basketball because if everybody's sending in that, then sure. But, I'm sending in stuff from 2016 Optic. I don't see that many people sending in 2016 Optic basketball stuff. I mean, it really does depend on what you're sending in. I don't think that they're going to change how they grade things based on the volume. I think their grading standards are their grading standards the same way that a third party grader should be. Look, they're going to look it over, and if it's got a ding corner, it's not going to get an A. If it's got glaring surface issues, it's not going to get an A. I don't know that they are going to say, all right, shit, look at the amount of these we got in. We have more than 200 of this card in. From now on, everything that comes in is getting a B. I mean, that's not fair. So I just don't see that happening. And I mean, people talk about population control with PSA, and I mean, I guess I get it, but I don't see why it behooves Star Stock to do that. I mean, the cards are graded, the cards are raw. They're not creating a fake scarcity like a PSA grade would be. The card is the card. They're just trying to put some other striation levels between raw. Remember, it's all raw. So I can't speak for them. I don't work for Star Stock, and I know we talk about them a lot, and we do have a partnership with them. But if I were them, I would grade a card an A if it's an A. I would grade a card a B if it's a B, and I'm pretty certain that that's what they're going to do. I don't think it matters how many cards come in.
Sorry, the community's asking about Bitcoin in the groups, and I felt obliged to respond to Cage.
Nice. You know how much I love Bitcoin, man.
Ryan Bitter asked, what is the appropriate multiplier between a PSA 9 and a PSA 10? In other words, how much more should a PSA 10 cost?
It depends on the card, right? It depends on the card and how many 9s there are and how many 10s there are, right? So, if you look at my favorite example of this is to go back to Pokemon, right? It's my favorite thing in the world, right? Because if you were to look at certain cards, PSA 9 and PSA 10, you love making fun of me for it, but look at the Chansey, right? There are a ton of PSA 9s and not that many PSA 10s, right? So a card like that, the multiple can be 6 or 7 to 1 between a 9 and a 10, maybe even more. I think I've seen 9 sell for a couple $1,000 and 10 goes, $35,000 to $40,000 just because there are so few 10s out there. Whereas some of the other ones, I've seen a 3-to-1 ratio, where there are enough 10s and not as many 9s. It depends on the card, depends on the scarcity of it. I would kick it back to my co-host here to talk about Kobe cards, because I know he's very familiar with grading Kobe cards. And, the one that I would set him up with is that Kobe Fleer Ultra card that Andrew likes to grade so often. But a 10 is almost impossible because of the edges and the foil and all that stuff. But there are a ton of 9s. Something like that's going to have a huge multiple, maybe 10 to 1. So I'd love to answer the question and just tell you mathematically it's always 3-to-1 multiple, or it's always a 4-to-1 multiple, but that's not what it is. Depends on the card.
I'm with you. I never leave you, Cage. Don't have that face.
So the Fleer Ultra one that I was talking about, right? That
Huh?
Ultra Kobe, the Ultra Kobe that I mentioned. So like that's got a huge multiple, right? Because there are a bunch of 9s, but 10s are almost impossible to get. So I mean, the multiple could be like 10-1 on that, right?
Multiples are. You're absolutely right. It has more to do with gem rate than anything else. Goodfellas cards has tons of opportunities for young guys to step up with all of these starters being out due to COVID. For example, today the Celtics will be missing 3 of their big men. Who do you think will step up, and will that be a good daily star stock play? Do you mind if I quickly jump in here? Because it's funny who I pulled up on star stock.
Go for it.
Jared Allen cards. Jared Allen cards have shot through the roof. So let me just give you some numbers here. On January 6th, a star stock A was $30. January 7th, 45. Today, selling for 63. And that card could be had for $9 for a star stock A just last month. So that's an interesting conversation. Sorry, it's an interesting topic. Great question. Goodfellas cards. What do you think, Cage? I mean, you brought Okuro just a few days ago. What are you doing?
Well, it could be anyone, right? I mean, I hope you guys got in on Dwayne Bacon, because when Markelle Fultz went down with his knee injury, everybody went out and bought you Dwayne Bacon cards. So you make fun of me. The only reason why I like him is because his last name is Bacon. But if you happen to be holding Dwayne Bacon or Cole Anthony cards in your Star Stock account or on eBay, when Markelle Fultz went down, those cards went through the roof. And I like that because that's more fantasy. That's more daily, you're in it. Somebody gets hurt and you're running to your waiver wire to go and grab his backup. That's cool. Like, that is cool stuff. That is, we talk about, sports cards becoming more and more like daily fantasy. That's how you do it, right? So, I mean, who do I see? Hey, you're a Philly guy. Tell me a youngster on Philly. I'm going to give you one. If you haven't bought your Matisse Tybalt cards yet, if you haven't bought that, or let me go one further for you, and this is a quick play today. How about the kid Maxey, who was just drafted?
I like Maxey. His offensive game is solid.
So you guys don't even know this yet.
Interesting that we got crushed by the Nets yesterday.
Well, so you guys don't know this yet. So hopefully you're hearing this. And Andrew, don't go jump on all of them, but you can get on Star Stock or eBay right now and buy your Maxey cards really cheap because Seth Curry just tested positive for COVID.
Yep.
And the team is remaining in New York. And they're showing video of him all over ESPN with on the sidelines wearing no mask and all kinds of stuff, right? So, but if Curry, their 3-point shooter, has to be out for a little while because of the COVID protocols, Maxey's going to get extra time to play, and maybe he's somebody who you buy for $1 and sell for $3. And maybe when he has a chance to play, maybe he earns himself more playing time. That happens all the time in the NBA. But it's a great example. It's something that's different this year, but it's not just COVID related. When Terry Rozier got hurt, that was how the legend of Devontae Graham, which is a 1-year legend, was born. With playing time, there's opportunity. With opportunity, if somebody takes it and grabs it, you can go. So, and here's the best part: it can be somebody different every day, right? Where have you gone, Isaiah Roby? He was the hot name for a minute. He was the Bowl. And while Jared Allen might be the big name today, he might be gone tomorrow. So that's the only thing I'll tell you to be careful about with those things. Take your money and take your profit.
Jared Allen, just so it's clear. I just wanted to bring that as an example because that trend was interesting.
I love it. Right. So, I mean, you have that, you have the injury in Orlando, you have the Boston guys. I will tell you, if you look on Star Stock or eBay, Tremont Waters cards, Grant Williams cards, Carson Edwards cards, all of the Boston guys who were rookies last year, every one of them is up because they have so many people out and they're all going to get opportunities. What's his name for this year? Peyton Pritchard.
Yep.
Right. He's in 20. He just hit the game winner the other day. Right. So yeah, I mean,
I would look for those guys, but also which one of them has lasting power, right? Which one of them could use this audition and turn it into a role on the team versus, hey, I'm just subbing in for a game. That's a big difference, right?
Right.
If the guy in front of him or 2 guys in front of him are out and he's just subbing in for the 1 or 2 games, That's different where he might potentially earn the spot and earn more minutes and keep having an upward trend. I think that's important.
Right. It's a great difference, and it's why I would put my money in Cole Anthony instead of any of the guys on Boston, because Boston is stacked.
Yep.
And ultimately, when they come back from COVID, those guys are not breaking into the lineup. Whereas Fultz just went down, is probably out for the whole year. Anthony might actually get some legit playing time and can last. So it's a different type of play.
I'm jumping a little bit around, but DJ Sports asks, what do you guys think of the future value of PSA 9s? And you had a good comment on this. I'm excited for you to jump in. With PSA supposedly becoming more difficult with grading, do you think the value decreases with more 9s coming back into the market? What about in the future where AI grading is the new way?
Well, so I can.
Cage once said this great line. I'm sorry, Cage, I interrupted you.
Go ahead, please.
No one wants 9s.
Right.
Either PSA 10s or they want PSA 8s. An example there was actually with, were we talking about a Jordan rookie? Is that right? Because that's also contextual.
I think we were talking about Mickey Mantle's rookie, by the way, at the time, believe it or not.
You either are like kind of a retail investor and, that's like your big buy and you're like, I'm going to get a PSA 8. Or you're a big wig and you don't want to show off to your other big wigs that you have a PSA 9. You're going to get the one PSA 10 of your guy. That was that.
So I'll tell you what my thought is about PSA 9s, and it's changed. I used to, when I got PSA 9s back, I used to give them to Ian. And my co-host here is like, don't do that to Ian. You give him 10s or give him nothing, right? And that's kind of where the genesis of people want 10s or they want 8s. I think 9 is basically becoming a raw card. I do. I mean,
rotisserie chicken from Costco.
Yes.
Giving Ian the 9s is like giving him the underbelly of the chicken. In my opinion.
That's the best part.
Not the
juiciest part.
The chicken breast and the skin on top is the best.
The juicy bottom. No. So here's the deal, right? So, my take on it, right, is there will be a market for 9s because not everybody can have a 10, right? But with grading the way that it is now, it's really just it's a chase to find 10s. And I think we talked to Bro Namath recently, right? And what he said was the best time to buy cards raw to get good grades on them is when people first break and they want to get their money back. So I'm going to take that Bro Namath theory and put it into PSA 9s, right? Everybody's doing what we like to do now, which is grading monthly. You're sending in your cards to grade monthly, and you're hoping to get them back so that you have a constant flow of stuff that come back every month. Well, everybody's going to get their cards back this month, next month, you name it. And what are the first things that they're going to sell off to recoup some of their money, some of the grading costs, you name it? It's the 9s. That's it. It's just human nature. They're going to hold on to the 10s and try to get more money on them, and then try to get back whatever they can on the 9s. So
I love
price of 9s is going to be lower. I mean, it's just there's going to be more 9s in the market. Whether the 9s are more plentiful because of some perceived PSA is harder grading the cards, and there's going to be more 9s because of that, it's almost irrelevant to me. To me, when a 9 comes back in your sub, you should sell that 9. Get some money back. Hang on to a 10 if you want of the guy, or sell the 10 too, But to me, the first thing everybody does when a sub comes back is the 9, goodbye, see you later.
I'll give you guys an example. So I brought a play to you guys, the Kobe Fleer Ultra PSA, just raw cards. So I subbed a lot of those. So I've been and watched that market. So what I saw with that market was the PSA 10 shot up. It went from 1,500 to 2,300. Now it's actually 2,700. But the PSA 9s stayed stagnant. They were at 200. Well, what's going to happen? They're going to follow, right? That rubber band effect that Cage so eloquently spoke about in one of our early episodes. Well, a good way to play it, in my opinion, is if you want the 10, but the 10 is slightly overpriced, go in on the 9s, knowing that they're underpriced relative to the recent movement of the 10. Buy a few of those. Wait for the pop that's inevitably going to come in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then sell them off after that pop happens and upgrade to a 10 using the earnings from there.
So what's a card you see now where the 10 recently went up, but the 9 hasn't really snapped because of it? It's usually when there's a chase and a bunch of people looking for the same card. I'll give you an example. If you don't have one, or
I can't even think an answer. This guy's
go ahead,
unbelievable.
answer.
Imagine if Cage was hosting the show. He would
I
ask
asked you a question. I asked you a question. So what's an example?
It was literally a pause. It was a pause.
So
Well,
pause PSA 9 versus a pause PSA 10.
Two. And you guys know I'm a big GOAT guy, so like I don't really monitor some of the lower end markets, especially modern. But two, the Kobe tops at 50th. That card was a $3,000 card in July, and it's been trending up, and now it's selling for 14, 15,000, and I've seen it keeps trending up. But the PSA 9 hasn't. That's a PSA 9 that's going to be a probably $3,500 card very soon. LeBron Topps Chrome is another example of that. You could still probably have a LeBron Chrome PSA 9 under $5,000, but the 10 just ran up and it's over 17 now. That 9 is going to be run up right after. So those are my two to look at.
That's it. And the Kobe would have been my example. I probably don't want the Chrome, but that on 50th is a great example of it too. Only because the Kobe and the LeBron that you give examples of, they've both run recently in 10. You know, that Kobe is $20,000. The LeBron is $20,000 or close there too. The 9s have not run yet, and they will. They'll catch up to the 10s.
I'll tell you guys, be very wary of the Kobe 138, just the base, the cardboard one. It's a card that was super mass produced. There's a ton of them out there, and the 9 actually did see a run up. I brought you guys to play the PSA 9 Topps 138. Was a $400 card in a PSA 9 just a few months ago, even less, and now it's 700 plus. But that's a card I'm very wary of just because of how many are out there in the market. Every time the PSA 10 runs up, there's so much supply that hits, it just drives that card right back down to where it was.
So you know the pop on it, but are there more or less PSA 9s of that than there are of like PSA 9s of Zion? You know what I mean? I think people look at a card like that and they say, all right, well, if a PSA 9 Zion's a couple $100, why shouldn't Kobe? You know, I mean, that's, remember that rising tide lifts all ships stuff that I talk about. It goes the same for that. I mean, we think there's a ton of it out there, and there probably is, but by comparison to what's going to be produced this year, people are going to be paying a couple $100 for LaMelo Ball's PSA cards. Why not pay $700 for a mint Kobe?
That card is insane. So, like, you guys got to remember, like, a Zion Prism of this year is probably mostly graded by PSA. I would say 80% is PSA graded. With those cards, Beckett was still in the mix. So, 15,000 graded PSA Kobe's. Gee, am I putting you to sleep? This guy this 3 times in the last minute, and these are grizzly berryons. But look, there's 15,000 PSA graded Kobe Bryant's 138, 2,600 10s, 8,000 9s, but you got to double that because there's equally as many at BGS.
Right. All right. Listen, it makes sense. It does. And it's also a very good point, right? Because people were grading with BGS a lot more previously than they are now. It's another thing to look at when you look at like Bowman Chrome Autos, baseball stuff. Yeah. Right? People really graded BGS a lot more. PSA became the behemoth that it is in the last couple of years. So it's funny when
PSA is a base card behemoth.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, even base cards, I will tell you, I think I mentioned this before when I graded, Bryce Harper first Bowman rookie when he was on the USA under-18 team. I sent it to BGS. I mean, this is more than 10 years ago. And that was just a base card. So
Drake's PC asks, how do you balance collecting and investing in players and brands you like versus investing in players and brands the market likes?
Should I throw the cliche of 2020 out in 2021 and do the whole buy what you love kind of thing, right? So, it's a great question, Drake. I got to tell you, obviously, I buy cards of people that I don't love. I try not to, just because, half the fun of it for me is finding somebody because I watched a couple of games and I'm like, all right, this guy's got it. This guy's gonna play, and then liking the player enough to go out there and buy the cards, and then I was right. That was my guy. I called it. There's a lot on there. I try to stay clear of the guys who run up and the market likes, and I don't. But eventually, if there's money to be made, there's money to be made. You got to put personal feelings aside. But I'll tell you, as I think about the answer to the question as I do it, I never bought a Michael Porter Jr. card, even though everybody loved him, even though he was like the darling last year, and people still seem to see some upside in him. I've never bought him, and maybe it's because I wasn't ahead of the curve on him, and I couldn't bring myself to buy his card when there had already been a run up, and the market liked him, and therefore I didn't. I don't know. It's funny because I talk about something called like irrational fantasy hatred. Like there are guys who I should draft in fantasy that I just don't draft because I have an irrational hatred of them. I have that for Michael Porter Jr. Maybe it's a chicken or an egg thing. Maybe you have that. What did you say? And LeBron. But well, maybe you have that irrational hatred of these guys. Maybe you don't like them even though the market likes them because you didn't like them first. Because the market figured that out before you did. So you have this block on buying them. And I think that's something I'm going to have to figure out myself because I think I leave money on the table because of that. LeBron's Chrome rookie card 2003 was available in the offseason for $8,000. But I didn't want to buy it because I sold them for $3,000.
And you hate LeBron.
Yeah, and I hate LeBron. But if I would have bought that in the offseason for $8,000, I'd be doubling my money right now in PSA 10. So, sometimes you got to leave that crap. You got to leave that crap at the door if you want to make money,
Other than MJ LeBron dual auto cards, why does the market in general dislike cards with more than one player's auto?
They have to have two really good players on it, right? So if you're a Kobe guy, do you really want to have a Kobe and D'Angelo Russell dual auto? What the hell is that doing for you? Kobe and Jordan are two goats. You have Kobe and LeBron on a card, or LeBron and Jordan on a card. That's a legit goat card. I think anything other than that, it almost detracts from the card.
The Kobe Zion or the Kobe Ja. Have you seen those?
I've seen them. Yeah, they're cool cards, but why people shy away from them is what happens if Zion doesn't pan out. Then you or the guy who bought the card hoping that one guy was going to be a GOAT. And it's not even just GOATs. Like I've seen cards where it's like, 4 guys on the card and it's Michael Jordan, Kobe, Magic Johnson, and then like
Kevin Garnett.
Paul Pierce. Yeah,
Yep.
Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. Like it's a guy who's a Hall of Famer, but it's not like I don't need to have that guy on the card. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to have him on the card. And I would shy away from it. I'd almost rather that they figure out a way to erase that 4th player and just give me with the 3,
It's moving into a new neighborhood. 3 houses are gorgeous, but the house next door is just slightly less gorgeous. And that takes away from houses just by comparison.
Listen, I'm not the guy to ask about the autos. I can just tell you from my own, like, I would much rather buy an auto with 1 on it unless you're giving me 2 of the all-time greats or 3 of the all-time greats. You have somebody auto on there that doesn't belong, that just detracts from the whole value of the card, the whole appeal.
Carter Christian. Stay with me here.
Mm-hmm.
So with prices rising in all markets, would you guys consider grading cards that are for sure 9s, maybe 8s and 7s in a big name prospect, especially applying that to baseball guys? I'll leave it there. Like, with prices rising in all markets, would you guys consider grading cards that are for sure 9s, maybe 8s and 7s?
So I sell everything that I get now that's not a 10. So the answer is going to be no. If I were unscrupulous and one of those guys that was, selling on eBay and just doing things that I, whatever, that happened in the hobby, I think if I were getting 8s back, I would crack them and resell them as raw. So that should answer the question, right? My answer is if you think a card's going to get an 8 or a 7, don't waste the money and the time grading it. Move on to the next thing. Sell it. Tell somebody this card's not mint. Tell somebody it's a near mint card, list it the right way, and get what you can for it, and put the money towards another one that you think might actually grade a 9 or a 10. Now, this is not for every card. For baseball prospects, it's definitely because there are 10s out there. There's no reason to be going for a 7 or an 8. But if you happen to have, unlimited Charizard laying around, I don't care what it's going to grade it, because it's going to show the authenticity of it. You name it, right? And even if it grades a 4, it's going to be worth a lot of money, and it's going to be easier for you to sell than if you had the card sitting around as raw and non-graded, because half the people who look at it raw and non-graded are just going to assume that it's a fake. So it's worth it to be graded in the 4. Old Pokemon cards. Same thing with old vintage. You know what I mean? Like you have a Michael Jordan rookie card. I grade it no matter what, because people are going to assume a raw one is either trimmed or altered or a fake card. But if you get it as a 4 or a 3 or a 2, it's much more sellable. Sorry, I have my son showing up as a cat.
We haven't done an Ian segment in a long time. He's absolutely right with what he just said. Also, with grading, I know 20-day PSA is taking 4 months. Do you think if you sub 40-day with baseball, getting him back late in the season is worth it? Or do you think it's worth saving the extra $10 and just doing a bulk sub? Basically, he's asking, 200 cards, baseball. Do you throw them into a 20-day or 45-day?
It depends who it is. If it's somebody like Wander Franco, I'd be okay with pushing it back and getting him at the end of the season, because I think he's going to get called up at the end of the season. If it's somebody who you're trying to grade and sell now, like a Tatis, and you want it back, beginning of the season, because you want to sell it and not worry about how he's going to do, I'd grade it quicker. What level you send in cards on, it completely depends on one, what you want to spend on a card, what the card's worth in a PSA 10, but more importantly, what your plan is for the card. You could have a more expensive card that I'm okay with sending with a slower submission time or a slower turnaround time if your plan is not to immediately get that card back in your hand and sell it. Right? If it's something you want to hang on to or something you're planning on selling, down the road, then you don't have to get it back so quick. People who aren't playing, those are easy. A lot of my 2012 Prism basketball cards I put in bulk subs, because the value of a Hakeem Olajuwon 2012 or a Dominique Wilkins wasn't going to change. They weren't going out there and dropping 40, and they also weren't going out there and losing their job to somebody on the bench. So those you can sub, with as slow a turnaround as need be, and not cut into your profits. It's all a fungible equation, right? If getting the card back quicker is going to allow you to maximize your return on the card, then it more often than not, it's worth a couple of dollars to increase it from, let's say, a 45-day to a 20-day.
Cage's Superior Sports Cards, your favorite fast food restaurant?
My favorite fast food restaurant depends on what I'm in the mood for. If I'm doing any fast food, I'll take a Chick-fil-A sandwich, because I'm a big chicken guy, and that you basically eat that whenever you want. If it's just like burgers, give me McDonald's, just because while nothing is spectacular, everything is good. The fries are good, the burgers are good, you name it.
Cage says McDonald's is the best fries.
What do you think, pal? What?
Chick-fil-A nuggets for special occasions.
Chick-fil-A nuggets and what?
For special occasions.
For special, you like Chick-fil-A nuggets, and what about regular fast food?
Nightmare, dude. How do we feed our kids this stuff?
Oh, he loves it. Come on, what do you think?
Okay.
For fast food, you like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's? What are you going with? Burger King for the flame broiled burger. I got to be honest. They had a Christmas commercial where like people were ordering in the drive-through, and they came out and they sang Christmas carols to them while they were in the car, and the king showed up. That king spooks me out. Like if like a bunch of people came and sing Christmas stories in front of me, and that weird king thing showed up in the drive-thru and was walking towards my car, I'd probably hit the gas and I'd crush that guy. But like, give me my burger, I'm going. This weird like king guy coming to steal my food or carjack me. I don't know if you watched the commercial I'm talking about, but I watched that and I was scared. I was like, what is this? This is scary shit. You think I'm nuts? And you're probably right.
Many things go through our mind. I can't believe that they could just put fast food commercials in our face all the time. Like, eat this junk, eat this junk, eat this junk. Here's $3. I'm also curious what Ian eats in a day, because I'm a little bit nervous, because I think he's an athlete. but your car is only as good as the fuel you put into it. But I'm gonna just keep moving forward because
Listen, I got a question for you. I know it's Coffee with Cage, but I have a question for you. All right.
Please.
Which of your balls do you like better tonight?
What?
Which of your balls?
What do you? What? What is?
Which?
I
which
wish
of your
someone else would call so they would help me.
Ball Brothers.
which of your balls do you
Ball
like better
Brothers.
tonight? Ian, which one of your balls is going to do better tonight?
Mellow.
LaMelo. See, my son knows that LaMelo and Lonzo are playing against each other and knew what I meant was LaMelo's going to have a better game. Your mind always goes to just disgustingness, man. Your mind always. What do you think? I was talking about your genitalia? Jesus
Which one of
Christmas.
your balls?
Which one of your balls? Hey, buddy, which one of your balls? Well,
Hanzo's not.
If we're talking Andrew talk, I'd say left.
Yeah, and he says if for Andrew, it's the left, is what Ian says.
Since we're staying on this weird topic, Coach Ferreira, shout out to Coach Ferreira, awesome guy. Florida Gators basketball coach, I believe, on the women's side.
He's a Gator, but he coaches the Lobos. He's an assistant coach for the Lobos women's basketball team.
Oh, word. Good call. Good call. He's going this route, Cage. So he said, let's talk.
I can't wait.
Let's talk taxes. So for many people, this is the first year selling in the hobby. Would love to hear how everyone deals with the tax ramifications of selling your collection.
Okay. So for taxes, you have to be honest. There's the first thing that you have to tell everybody when it comes to taxes. All right. If you are making money on sports cards, then you should be reporting the money that you're making for tax purposes. That's as easy as that, right? So there's a difference between whether you're going to get a 1099 and whether or not you should be reporting something for tax purposes. For eBay, PayPal, for third-party payment processors, you will get a 1099 if you have both 200 transactions and $20,000 of goods and services payments coming in. If you don't have that through eBay/PayPal, then you're not going to get a 1099 for them. However, if you went out in January and bought $10,000 worth of sports card inventory, and over the course of the year you sold it for $15,000, then you have $5,000 of income this year, and you should be letting the IRS know that you turned $10,000 into $15,000 and paying taxes on that $5,000. That said, I am not a tax professional, nor am I professing to be one. What I would tell you is keep as good a record as you can of all of your transactions. If you sell mostly on eBay, you can pull every quarter, you could pull down your transactions. PayPal will have spreadsheets, you name it. You keep track of that and bring it to your tax preparer, and they'll tell you what it is, because collectible versus doing it as a business, there are different tax brackets. There's different ways that the money is taxed. It's a great question. It's a question a lot of people have. And Bill, the answer that I have for most folks on it is simply keep good track of what you're doing. Keep great track of your buys, your sells, what you bought it for, which is your basis, and what you're selling it for, what you're netting. And keep track of all your costs and just go from there. That's the best that I can do for you.
GTSM.High asks, could you rank baseball products after Chrome? What are the higher end sites?
So on what products now?
Baseball, like Topps Update, Topps Chrome, Bowman's First, Bowman's Prospects. Could you rank the sets in terms of value?
Yeah. So I mean, it depends on what you're buying it for, right? So if you're buying for prospecting, one of my favorite things to do with baseball is to grab some Bowman products and open them up and then just throw them in the basement. Throw them in like a shoebox, because you never know which one of those prospects is going to turn into something. But for that, it changes every year, because I'll tell you the best thing they get for Bowman is like the Sapphire brand cards. If you can find a box of that if you're in Topps Montgomery, or you buy one of those online, because the Bowman Sapphire, Topps Sapphire, those Sapphire products, which is new, the pricing on those is crazy. Everybody wants them. There's not a lot of them made. But for prospecting, it's Bowman Draft. It'll have the first Bowman Chrome and the first Bowman cards of people after they're drafted and when they're signed as free agents. Signings that aren't drafted for foreign-born players. For Topps, for just regular first rookie card, I love the Topps paper. You talk about Series 1, Series 2, Update. Chrome comes out and has a combination of all those guys in it. And that's all I would do for baseball. If you are buying other products, right, that's fine. There are plenty of fun other products. I have a friend who loves Stadium Club because it's got really cool pictures in it, right? But if you pull a rookie card of Luis Robert, Lou Bob in Stadium Club, it's not going to be worth anywhere near what the card is for the Topps or the Topps Chrome or one of their main cards. Same thing with Bowman. People like Bowman's Best. There are great cards in there. You could pull great autos. You could pull great cards. They have fun chases in those products, but that's not going to be the one card people go after. But if you like it, go ahead and open it. Ian and I enjoy opening Allen and Ginter because it's just got weird stuff in it. Allen and Ginter's got interesting cards in it, and Ian pulled the Chip and Joanna Gaines dual auto out of it, which is not what you'd want in your baseball cards. If you're opening a product where you want to get a Lewis Robert rookie card and your big hit is a couple of $100 for Chip and Joanna Gaines, I guess, that's the sort of product. So it's easy for ranking for me. If you were trying to buy people's rookie cards, buy the Topps, any variant, Topps Series 1, 2, Update, or Chrome. And if you're looking for somebody's first auto, go buy your Bowman auto, buy your Bowman draft.
Boink Cards ask, I know this is more of an Andrew question, so maybe I could chime in, but if someone wants to get into Kobe card just because they love the player and want some of his cards without having thousands of dollars to spend, where would you look? Same question if you were investing in Kobe, especially with the Hall of Fame induction coming up. Where do you look?
So this is a buy what you love, but also do your research kind of thing, right? So I would try to buy cards that have some, if you're not buying his rookie cards because you don't want to spend the money on it, and you're not buying a Topps Chrome, I would go in two directions. Number one, I would buy rookie cards of him that are not the sought after rookie, but they're still a rookie, right? So, you talk about his Topps paper, but there are so many Kobe rookie cards you can go out there and buy, right? From the Stadium Clubs to Ultra to you name it, that are not going to break the bank. You could still get a rookie card of him in a good grade. The other thing I would tell you to do is try to find an iconic card of him for some reason. The Topps Chrome of LeBron with Kobe on the same card. What is that, 2008?
Yep.
All right, that's a cool card, and you get two goats on it, and it's appreciating obviously because of who's on it, but it's not a $20,000 card. I go back to my old standby, a 2012 Prism, not a cheap card in PSA 10, but you can get it for a lot less than you get any of his other cards. It's the first Prism card. It's a cool card of the set. I think it might be card number 1 in the set, or number 24. Like it's got an interesting number on the card too, but it's the first Prism, so it's iconic for that reason, and it's got Kobe on the card. I'd look for a card like that, but the truth is that you can get a ton of Kobe. Played for a long time, and he was one of these guys that was like a Panini darling. They didn't have to chase him down for the cards, so there are plenty of his cards out there. For an auto, you can probably get them inexpensive because a lot of them like non-graded ones, but they're still in the Panini case. That what was it called? Chronicles, a Panini Chronicle set with the Mamba goes out with a bang. It's a little morbid, but there's going to be demand because of it. If you're looking for an auto card that people haven't graded yet, you can find one of those. One of those Panini auto cards. It's not a first auto. It's not his most sought after auto, but you can get it, and for something that has a hook to it, right? First Prism, first Optic. Him with somebody else on the card, those kind of things. That's be what I would invest in, because you try to find something that's going to have some additional demand.
2012 Prism PSA 10 in the base is actually a play. It's like a $500-600 card in a PSA 10. The pop is super low.
Yep.
If not, I would go Topps Chrome Refractor, and I would look for some PSA 9s. There's a lot of cool refractors of Kobe. Like there's this 2007 Topps Chrome. 1957-58 variation. It's like kind of like an old school look of the card. In the refractor, it's numbered out of 999, and a PSA 9 is sold for $555 on January 1st. So now you play that a few ways. So think about it this way, right? First, Topps is an iconic brand. Then you go Topps Chrome Refractor. People always look for those, right? Then it's numbered. If you could get all of those things with Kobe non-rookie, that's a huge win. Now, if you could get a serial number that was recently graded in a PSA 9, you could get that card. I think it's going to add a ton of value or appreciate a ton over time. But you could also see, could I cross that to a BGS 9.5, right? And that would be my play. That would be the way I would play it, because one, you get Topps Chrome, you get the refractor, you get an icon, you get numbered, and you get a PSA 9, which sells it at a huge discount of tens, and you get the card and you're like, I could hold it in a 9, or I could cross it to BGS. And with those older cards, people don't care as much. They care more when it comes to like a Zion Prism. They don't want it in a BGS 9.5.
Yep.
Refractor numbered in a 9.5, absolutely no problem with it. Let me keep going. I should have asked this a little bit. Can you briefly touch on this for MBT sports cards? What determines the speed for submitting your cards? Which cards do you send 20-day, 45-day, 10-day, 2-day, 5-day to PSA? How do you decide that, Cage?
We talked about this a little bit already. It depends on the card. It depends what you want to do with the card, right? So, it's not a cookie cutter answer that I can give you, but I'll tell you just from my own, if the card's valuable enough and I want it back soon enough, I bump it up a level of my submission, right? So, but if it's somebody who's not playing, if it's somebody who's way off season, if it's somebody who has retired already, I'm going to submit those with as cheap of a submission level as possible, as low cost as I can, because I don't need it back tomorrow. I don't need it back next month or even, this year, because it's a card I'm planning on keeping. So that's it. I mean, there's no magic to it. Right now, the football playoffs have ended. I mean, the football playoffs are starting, right? So football regular season's ended. And, if you are going to grade a card of a guy who is now out of the playoffs, let me try to think of somebody, right? Tua.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do a 20-day on Tua right now, But if it was the beginning of the season and you wanted to grade your Tua card and get it back during the season, you might want to do a 20-day. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, guys.
I'll give you one little one. If this is specifically for modern-ish NBA and baseball, but pre-2017. If it's not a guy you need back right away, I would throw it into a bulk. The price is so cheap on so inexpensive in I think 2017. Is it 2017 or 2018 now that we?
Right now, it's anything before 18. So 2017 goes into regular modern now.
So like a Mike Trout Prism card or a select card that you get from 2013, grab that, throw that in a bulk sub. It's cheap. It doesn't matter when you get it back. Take a look at that. There's some opportunities there. Even like a Bam Adebayo now, right? You can get his Prism. Yep. Now he's not ultra modern. He's modern. Just throw it in a bulk sub. He'll be fine. You'll get the card when you get it. It's irrelevant.
I had somebody drop off Donovan Mitchell base today as one of the many cards for the Luka Nation sub. He put it in and he's like, okay, that's this one's this much. And I go, no, you just save yourself $4 by the year changing, because now that's a modern instead of an ultra modern. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, and there's how much more market risk? Like, what's going to change in that extra 2 months that you get it back sooner? That Beard asks, is Bradley Beard overrated or underrated?
I think he's rated. It's a Seinfeld episode, right? How could you be underwhelming, right? And only underwhelming and overwhelming. You can't just whelm somebody, right? So you can be overrated and underrated, but are you just rated? I think Beal is exactly where he should be, because he's one of the top scorers in the game. And people realize that, and his cards are priced that way, but that's it. You know what I mean? He's nothing else. I don't think he makes anyone around him better. I don't think he distributes the ball well. I don't think he plays a good team game. And I think there's plenty of guys on that team who could probably play a better team game. But what you see with Washington is, that team is not playing as well as the sum of its parts, right? So
Did you watch the Warriors game when Draymond? You did, because you saw his funny end.
Yeah, the flailing. Yep.
So in today's NBA, it's impossible to win with so much, because we have so much talent in the NBA. It's never been like this, in my opinion. Just top to bottom talent. You need 2 superstars to win, okay? Or 2 stars, let's call it. They just chased Curry around the court. They triple teamed him because they knew no one else could score, right? Bradley Beal has had John Wall around him, and now he has Russ Westbrook around him. He's always had a good supporting cast, whether you would say that he's first fiddle, second fiddle, we could have that discussion. And they've never had any success. So I like the Bradley Beal, the person, underrated. Hugely awesome guy. He's funny. There's a ton of memes and videos of him going around. He's just a funny dude. He's a good guy, it seems. And he's an unbelievable scorer. But I said this in one of the groups, I was like, are they just two stat patters next to each other? It's just two guys that put up numbers, but they don't actually win. Had John Wall, was Westbrook. I don't know. There's something to be said about that, right? And
that's why I say he's rated. He's not over or under. I think he is what he is.
Scoring is one part of the game, and I think we also forget that in basketball. It's actually the only sport where you have equal say on both sides of the court, you know? In soccer, if you're a forward, striker, you're really not defending. In football, if you're on the offense, you're not playing defense. In hockey, you kind of do defend, but you're a forward, you're playing. Basketball, you have as much say on the defensive end as you do on the offensive end. So, like, there's something to be said there, and I would say overrated as a player. Breaking Wax said, when can he come on to an episode? That's Bro Namath's friend. We'll reach out. You're the man. I would love to have you on. Zan Morning asks, hey guys, curious on wrestling and any non-sports stuff you are looking at. First off, shout out to Zan Morning, right? We had that Zoom. Drake's daughter came on. You could correct me if I'm wrong, and like just talking, and he found out that she's a fan of something, and he sent her a package. I love that kind of stuff. I love when people in our community.
Yeah, send some wrestling cards, some wrestling cards over to his daughter, which is pretty cool, man. I mean, we talk about that. That's the that's the future of the hobby. But what's cool about it is no one asked him to do it. I mean, nobody came on and said, "Oh, yeah, my daughter could use some cards." You just said, "Oh, I'm gonna send them out and send some wrestling cards because that's what she's into." So that's cool. That's the community. That's good stuff. What am I looking at?
But we're also okay with thinking about others and serving others and helping others. It's a cool combo. But he asks, "What are you looking at? Wrestling or not sports related right now, Cage?"
Right. So wrestling's hot. And it's got a huge fan base. What am I personally looking at? I don't know if I'll go heavy in it. I've bought a couple of them because I don't know if the demand's there, but it's more my generation, and I think the hobby might already be passing my generation. Pokemon is the guys who are a little younger than me, and that's why it has some legs, and this one might not. But I'll tell you what I'm personally looking at. I like Garbage Pail Kids. The 1985 first set of those, the Series 1, the one that came out with like Atom Bomb and, Evil Eddie and Nasty Nick. But I bought a Fat Matt. I bought a Russell Muscle, and I bought a couple of other ones that I remember as a kid, just in PSA 10, and you can get them for $100, $150. They're not humongous investments. The pop's low on them. It's one of those kind of things where you can buy these things and hope that this is something that catches fire, right? I'm doing research on them. The pop is not huge, but I don't know whether the demand's going to be there for something like that the same way that it is for sports cards, wrestling cards, even Pokemon cards. I mean, they weren't cards that were played. The pop's low because they were stickers, and you would take them off the card back and put them on like your binder. We talked about these. I just don't know whether or not there's enough, people out there who these were big with as kids. That said, part of the reason I got into it is they're still available. You can still buy them at Target. They make series of them now. So much so that Topps makes them, and Topps is making a Sapphire version of them that just came out this year. So like Garbage Pail Kids Sapphire. So if they're investing that money into it and they're bringing out newer versions of it, newer products of it, I think it was like a Montgomery Club, like a Topps 582 kind of thing, where it was like a limited edition. If they're making new products of it, then what normally happens are people go back and try to look for the older stuff. And, look, would I have loved to have bought a billion of these before telling you guys to go out and look for it? Sure. But, you asked me what I'm personally looking at now. I haven't bought too many of them, but I have started, looking into whether this is a viable non-sport thing to get ahead of the curve on. And maybe that'll be the next thing the 10Xs. Who knows?
Limited edition Furbies for me. Quarantine Collector asks, do you think first edition commons of Wizards of the Coast sets are worth grading? Let's say PSA 8 and up.
I think if you have a first edition Wizard of the Coast, you grade it no matter what it's going to grade, it's going to sell. And the issue that you're going to have if you don't have it graded is people are going to assume it's really crappy condition or that it's potentially a fake. And if you Google, the only thing different between the first edition and the unlimited is that first edition stamp. And I will tell you some horror stories about people who are putting first edition stamps on unlimited cards. There's no other discernible difference for it. So getting in a slab is important because it's not just about the grade, it's the authenticity of the card. It makes it easier and it will widen your base to sell that card to. People are much more, willing to buy a slabbed card that shows that it's authentic rather than a raw card.
Cage, I've seen something. I'm going to ask you real quick. Let's not go into it too much, but I've been searching. I love Kobe. You guys know that. And I always monitor his market, but there's Kobe Topps Chrome reprint cards, okay? You've seen those, right?
Yep.
It's literally a reprint. It says it in the description. People grade those with GMA, and those sell for $100.
Yep.
What anything like is that just that's weird? Like I don't get it. It's probably shield bid. A reprint in a GMA.
It could potentially be a shield bid. It could potentially be somebody who's, pretending to buy them all, hoping that somebody buys them at 60 or 70, for real. But also, I mean, if you told me that it's real, I wouldn't be that surprised by it. Look, if it's an iconic card that you can't buy for a legitimate price, I know there's a market for 52 Mantle reprints, and they sell at a certain price.
That's crazy.
So, people do buy them. Topps even for a while, the archive set that they make now, it has, updated versions of the old cards. But back in, was it 1993 maybe, they made a Topps archive set where all it was a reprint set of the 53 Topps set. And the cards sold really well because I wasn't going out as a kid and buying a 53 Mantle or a 53 Maze. They had Satchel Paige in the set. But I was able to get those cards in archives and, it was worth $10 or $20 or whatever it was, even though it was a reprint card. So I could see why there might be a market for a Kobe reprint or a LeBron reprint for somebody who wants the card, wants it in good condition instead of a ripped up, version of a authentic one. I would probably be hesitant to buy one for $100 in a GMA holder.
Andrew J. Griff asks, what is your 2-year outlook on Pokemon or the hobby in general?
What is my what outlook?
Your 2-year outlook. Just like a
2-year outlook.
12, 24 months.
I think it's, we started off, this is probably a good question to end it with because we started off before getting questions, with talk about, Michael Jordan card and all that other fun stuff and how, we think that there is, there's life to the hobby, there's demand. My 2-year outlook for Pokemon, I think Pokemon has taken a little bit of a step backwards in the last couple of months because that's the natural progression. When anything goes up 4 or 5x, you're going to see more supply come out of the woodwork. And when more supply comes out of the woodwork, the prices go down. But I think you're not going to see, maybe ever again, but definitely not in the next 2 years, the influx of high-end cards that we saw in the last 2 months of last year in those PWCC auctions where there were 2 complete set PSA 10 Wizard of the Coast first editions plus trophy cards and all kinds of just craziness sold. There were thousands upon thousands of high-end Pokemon cards sold over the course of 2 months. And when that happens, the price is going to come down because it makes something that is scarce look like it's not scarce. It looks like there's a lot of supply out there. And what's going to wind up happening is over the next couple of months, people who thought that they could get those cards the next time it comes around because, hey, look, 1 or 2 come up every month. They're going to realize that they don't come up every month. And they're going to realize that some of those cards come up once a year, twice a year, and they got to go all in on it. And when they do, the price goes right back up. And I think that's going to happen for Pokemon. I think Pokemon is a pretty safe place to put your money for those like first edition, your EX cards, your Neo Genesis cards, your high-end cards that people are buying and they have demand and will always have demand. I think that's pretty safe. And I think my 2-year outlook for those, if you told me in 2 years that first edition PSA 10 set was $1 million set, it would not surprise me. That's not a crazy jump because I'm pretty sure it went from like $125 or $130,000 set to start last year off to ending at like a 600 or six and change set, with the Zard alone being 50% of the set at like 300,000. I've heard as high as 350 in private sales. So that set should be $1 million set. If you told me that Zard was $500,000 in 2 years, it wouldn't surprise me either, just because it's one of those trophy cards that people go after. The hobby in and of itself, I hope that this basketball draft class does some stuff. I hope that it maintains interest. I hope that people still want to buy the cards. I've seen LaMelo Ball play really well. I've seen Anthony Edwards play really well. I've seen Wiseman play really well. And I see no reason to think that, it's the hobby is going to take a pause. I will tell you that there is a huge influx of money, of content, of contributors, of influencers. There are people setting up shop like never before. We're talking about people who are building mutual funds of cards, people building mutual funds of sealed wax. We have multiple companies that are doing platforms of ways to buy and sell cards. We have multiple companies out there that are doing ways to do fractional ownership of sports cards. I think it's definitely here to stay, and I see no reason why it doesn't continue to go up. As you see, I love football going forward. I mean, I hope that with college basketball coming back and we get some good basketball guys coming and some real prospects. But look at the football quarterback class we have this year. Look at what we had in years past, and look at what we have going forward. I think that this kid Lawrence is going to be more sought after than anybody was this year or the years past. I think he's going to be a huge thing for the hobby. And I think ultimately, like we talked about, when people are looking at his prices, they're going to go back a year, 2 or 3, and start buying the other guys. And as long as you have that, as long as you have that continued interest in the hobby and continued interest in what's going on, the hobby's fine. I think the hobby's going to be great for the next 2 years and beyond. And I mentioned this earlier, but if Panini can put out a product for $27,500 on their website and it be sold out before I could even have a chance to click on it, that bodes well for the prospects of the hobby.
Yeah, I would say if we look at the hobby, I think of it as in interest and in price, and those are two different things. Of course, there's going to be corrections in price, and cards are going to suffer more and less. And if we see a 30, 40, 50% correction on some cards, I don't think it's the end of the world. I really don't. I think the interest is actually increasing, not decreasing. Yep. So I try to look at them from two standpoints. Guys, we know the show is a little bit longer, but we're trying to get to every question. We're working on getting you guys show notes with like kind of timestamps, so that you would skip through for topics that are interesting to you. We're working on that. And if that's something you're interested in doing for us, reach out. We're looking to add people to the team. I think we're through. Call Star asked 2 more questions here. Call Star asked, what do you guys think of the new eBay payment policy? Guys, and if we don't get your question, because some questions do trickle in as we're doing the show, we apologize. Please ask next week. I monitor it all the time, and I try to get to everyone as much as possible.
We're talking about like managed payments, I would think. I've heard good things. I've heard bad things. The bad things that I've heard about the managed payment plan is that they hold your money longer. You don't get the money immediately in your PayPal account. But I've also heard that it becomes, a monthly payment kind of thing. So it's more concrete. If you're a business, the money's coming in monthly and it's easier to keep track of it. Look, eBay's going to evolve, especially with more competition out there for eBay. They're going to evolve. I've heard them talking about, a couple of things that would be great for their platform. The dollar shipping for, ungraded cards, and talk of them not accepting returns on graded cards. I mean, those are things that would be great steps for them to take if they did it.
Love it. Call Star. One more thing. Yeah. He's looking to consolidate some cards into a LeBron rookie PSA 9. The Chrome is a little pricey. Besides the white suit rookie, what are some other LeBron rookies to consider? Just real quick, I'll touch on this. I love the 2003-2004 Topps Pristine. It's a cool looking
card.
And it's for example, the Refractor SP just sold us out of $19.99, and a BGS 9.5 sold for $4,000, which is less than a PSA 9 of his Topps Chrome. Also rookie, really cool card, and it's a refractor. So that's one I would look at. I also think his 2004 Topps Chrome is a cool card.
So I would tell you, sell more stuff, save up more money, even if it takes you a couple more months, and buy the card you want. So if it's going to be the PSA 9 LeBron Chrome, save up and buy that. Even if it's even if you got to sell one or two other cards you're always going to want that one card. So if that's the one you want, don't settle for another one. That said, if your question really is, what are some other cards? There is a isn't it 02 Finest, where it was like a draft trade-in card where he's got the oversized white suit on also, and it was one of these like redemption type of cards. It would be his first card. I think it's considered an XRC.
It is.
But they have the same thing with Mahomes. Mahomes has a 2016 Select, which was like a trade-in card, which is like a rookie, but it's an XRC. I would look at that, because if you can't buy the Mahomes card, you buy the one, you buy the Select one. I would look at that 2002 Finest, because you could argue it's his first card. It's got an 02 stamp on it. So that's just a little random thing there. And let me throw one thing out there. It's not a question for Cage, and I'll let you have the final word on it. Guys, we love the messages we get from you guys, and you never know if you send us a message whether or not you might get a shout out. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm gonna thank one of our audience members who reached out to me and give him a kudos, because I think it's a record, and I think it's a record that's going to be hard to beat. Although you never know, guys. You never know. Records are made to be broken, right? So I'm gonna give a quick shout out to a Luka Nation member, Tony Harley. So Tony Harley 11, who reached out to us recently, right after episode 181, and told us that he had just finished what he considered his climbing of Mount Everest, a monumental goal. He found us around Thanksgiving and spent 40 days. Some people wander in the desert for 40 days. Tony Harley spent 40 days listening to our podcast and listened to 181 episodes, from 1 to 181 in 40 days. So it's a pretty nice binge right there. And I wanted to, you tell me that somebody can go to Nathan's and eat 70 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That's pretty impressive, and it's noteworthy. But you go out there and you listen to me and you, Andrew, for 181 episodes worth in 40 days. That's worth a mention. So, Tony Harley, we appreciate it. Anybody else have some fun stories they want to share with us about the Luka Nation, where you found us, where you listen to us, whether we're, on the gym, at the gym or in the car, whatever it is, reach out, and you never know, you might hear your name in one of these episodes. Thanks, Tony, and thanks, Luka Nation. Go ahead, Andrew.
Last question. Conrad Sports Cards asks, high school guy, smart kid, man. The kids are getting smarter and smarter.
You must like this guy. This is the second question from him, so we're giving him a bonus time.
No, this is just. I mentioned him earlier. I said he has a question, and here it is. Yeah. What's our favorite podcast that's not ours? Talking about sports cards.
Just ours. Just ours. I don't. You can give somebody else credit, but I am my own favorite. What, do you have a favorite?
I'll tell you, brother. I don't listen to anybody else's podcast, and I'll explain why. And it's not because I think I know everything. I want to bring you guys what I'm seeing in the market. I want to watch the market. I want to watch people's behavior, and whether I'm wrong or right, I don't want to regurgitate other people's opinions. I want to bring my own opinions, and I want you guys to give me the feedback if that's also what you guys are seeing.
Okay, so I will give credit to folks where credit's due. We had Ryan on this week. If you haven't listened to that episode, and Ryan is the backbone and the heartbeat of Sports Card Talk podcast. And we've had Chris Hodge from the House of Jordans on. That's a knowledgeable guy. But my favorite thing to consume on Instagram, you asked about a podcast, but I'm going to go in a different direction, is Lameem James's content. And if you have not checked out his page, if you're one of the 3 people living under a rock who hasn't seen what Lameem James puts out, he's got some funny stuff. It's somebody you should follow. Let's see, other podcasts, other stuff. Lefko puts out some really good stuff, but he doesn't need me to talk about him. Damn guy's on TNT, and I think he wants to fight me. So, maybe we'll set that up for you listeners. But yeah, I mean, there's some great content out there, and it doesn't just apply to cards, right, guys? The rising tide lifts all ships. While I consider our podcast the Michael Jordan 86 PSA 10, and everybody else is maybe a second year Kobe or a third year Greg Oden, if he even played that long, their prices are going to go up too as I lift them.
Yep. I'm the
Rising tide, man.
Anthony Bennett card that just sold.
Yeah, Bennett. Yeah,
Right.
but hey, look, people are paying money for Anthony Bennett cards, so you could be Anthony Bennett too. Nah, guys, listen, Conrad, it's a great question. There's some really great people out there, but if I can give you one piece of advice, it's just keep listening to us. I'm modest.
So funny. I love this. So Cage started today's episode with humility as his wish for you guys, and he
No,
closes.
be humble. Be humble.
Where else are you going to get this? Luka Nation, we're going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we're going to drop an NFL playoff preview tomorrow morning. So click those subscribe buttons. Make sure to tune in. Love you guys. Talk tomorrow. Thank you for spending some time with us on another episode of the Lukas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe. You know what? Don't just like and subscribe. Everybody does that. If you like us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And we hope you got something from spending some time with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.